Hello, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's episode of Wednesdays at Noon with PunkinFutz. Of course, I'm your host, Shanique Ruiz, and I'm on team with PunkinFutz. As you all may know by now, we do these Wednesday afternoon chats every week, and each week we have on a different guest talking about a different topic. This week is no different, and I'm so happy to have Ms. Erin Brown with us, and we'll get right into her in a second. But before we start, I want to say just a few things. Of course, I will start with thank you to frontline and essential workers, because we love you and we support you and we appreciate you and we know how important you are to helping this world go round right now, whether you wear a uniform or not, whether you're a teacher, a therapist, a parent, doctor, nurse, firefighter, anything. We love you and we appreciate you, and thank you for your service and for your help wherever you are. And I also want to take the time to say that we want to see your comments, we want to see your questions, we want to engage with you in the comments, so please do leave us comments, say hi, ask Erin questions, ask me questions. We'll check the chat throughout, but we do have a bit of a lag in the comments, about a couple seconds, so it'll give us a little bit of time to get your comment, but we do see it and we will respond. So, and lastly, I do want to say, please, if you can, go and vote, everyone, because that's so important. If you're in the US, you know that it's election season right now, and we really believe in the power of getting out the vote. So please go and do that and wear a mask, be safe, social distance, and yes, please vote and wear a mask. So without further ado, I want to welcome Erin Brown. Hi, Erin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good and happy to have you here. Even better now that you're here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's always exciting to talk about not only disability, but just be with our community around the world and having this conversation. Wednesdays at noon is the spot, if they didn't know.
Right. I love that. Thank you so much for saying that, Erin. And I'm happy to have you here. I mean, it's been a long time. If anyone actually doesn't know, Erin is in the Bahamas, and I had the awesome opportunity to meet Erin last year at the International Day of Persons with Disabilities celebration at the United Nations, and we sat next to each other, and I've known Erin and loved Erin and appreciated everything that she's done virtually and internationally since then. So I'm so happy to have Erin here and to have her with PunkinFutz. So could you tell people a little bit more about yourself, Erin?
Sure. Well, yes, I am definitely in the beautiful Bahamas. I'm born and raised. I'm a native of Grand Bahama. That's one of our islands. And I'm currently in the capital, which is New Providence. And I have always been very civically involved, athletically inclined, and just a lover of life. I'm solar powered, so I'm living in the best place. I need the sun to move. I don't like cold, nor do I like rain, but we're experiencing rain right now. And for the past 16 years, I've been living with a disability due to bone cancer. I acquired an amputation, or as a result of bone cancer, I received an amputation. And so therefore, I've been living as a limb difference individual who started off as a self-advocate. And in my advocacy, I learned that disability inclusion is definitely something that needs to increase around the world, and especially here in the Bahamas. And so I leaned more towards disability inclusion certifications and garnering more knowledge and expertise on it. So for the past 16 years, I've been an disability inclusion consultant that provides not only advocacy, but training, compliance, more knowledge, and the ability to increase access, inclusion, and opportunities for people with disabilities.
I love that. I think you're amazing, Erin. And just the fact that people actually, you didn't touch on this, so I hope it's okay that I say it, but you're also a mom. Like, you're doing this and you're also a mom. So I think that's
Yes.
amazing. I already think that moms and parents are superheroes and superwomen, supermen. I mean, parents
Super
are
brave.
yeah, exactly. And to do all of that and also be a mom, I admire that about you. So I think that's amazing. And actually, I think this would be a great time to cue up the video that you sent us that we can learn more about you and your journey. So Lisa, you can go ahead.
Every joy, every triumph, every tear, every heartbreak has made me who I am and is shaping who I will be.
Meet Erin Brown, a mother, an athlete, and a cancer survivor.
We're talking to Miss Erin Brown.
We led in the competition by Erin Brown.
I got a leg. I was donated a free leg. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go for that goal.
My name is Erin Brown. The inspiration behind Erin's story. So to be alive is manifesting everything that you want by actually doing it. And immediately after getting an x-ray done, I was told to go to Florida.
She said at the time the stage 4 cancer had eaten away at her left femur to the point where the bone was fingernail thin. So she opted for amputation.
Speaking as an amputee and as a cancer survivor, I've experienced not being able to get into places or having the type of medicine or regimens that I would need. It's not available here in the Bahamas, so that I have to think about leaving my family.
I was able to travel from the Bahamas to come to Chicago, Illinois to meet with David Rodder. And he provides persons with adaptive limbs. I've received a running leg and a cycling leg.
She has the will, and now she has the equipment.
Here I am in Houston. Everything that I didn't imagine that would happen, happened. Did I fall? Yes, I did. Did I hurt myself? I surely did. Am I sore? Am I tired? I am all the above. But what I am not is defeated. Here in the Bahamas, there's a lot that needs to be done gearing towards disability. So I started a foundation where we provided financial assistance, resources, equipment, things that would make it a little bit easier for persons with disability.
With total transparency, she revealed her prosthetic leg, showing that the road may now be different, but she can still live a full and fulfilled life.
I am still a mother. I am still Bahamian. I am still an athlete.
In the Caribbean in general, because the Bahamas is definitely not the only place that feel that persons with disability may not be their best assets. And I honestly feel that I can change that way of thinking. They have to see it to believe it. Like, we have to physically see something happening in order to then action or invest or put into it. I don't know what God was thinking, but cancer survivor and amputee and single mother, and gave me the gift of speaking and the tenacity to just go for it. I'm here.
The best stories take you along for the journey, and this journey has just begun.
I love that video so much. It gives me all the vibes. All the feels.
All the feels.
Right.
I'm watching it again and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing.
I love it.
And what I love about that video, honestly, is to this date, I would have never imagined that currently I am now at the University of the Bahamas in the Office of Disabilities and Compliance. And this is a new office. So everything that we're doing in life, it may not seem like, you know, it's happening when and how we want it to happen, but it is absolutely a part of our plan, our design to get where we need to go.
I love that like just everything you just said. I just love it. And this question I think is really important because that video that we saw shows a lot of your personal journey. So how did you get started in advocacy?
Well, advocacy for me, like most of us living with a disability, whether we were born or we acquired a disability, started off with self-advocacy. I realized there were a lot of gaps and barriers. There were no access or inclusion or opportunities in certain spaces. For me specifically, it was more medically at first, because when I returned back to the Bahamas after my treatment, I realized that there weren't no resources. There wasn't much to tap into because none was created. There was no infrastructure to sustain people with disabilities. And so I started to advocate that way of my needs. And as I continued to speak up and I learned and I asked and I worked in different areas of public and private, I began to understand that this was beyond Erin Brown. This was beyond me. There were persons before me living with a disability, and there will be persons during and after me living with a disability. And so the conversation then shifted to disability advocacy in general. And in doing that, I was able to not only impart knowledge, but then I realized that persons had the desire. Everybody had the desire within the community. They wanted to do more. They wanted to know more. Non-disabled persons wanted to do more and just didn't understand how. How can we help? How can we sustain? How can we increase? And so then it went from that advocacy into training, and therefore disability inclusion came into play and is now a key part of everything that I do, because disability it intersects all of our lives. It intersects everything that we're doing, everything that we create. And so that was my ultimate shift and where I landed. And I have intentfully decided to be committed to making sure that we have access and inclusion in everything that we do to provide a sustainable and innovative nation.
Yes, and I think you are so important in that, just everything that comes with it. The fact that I'm sure that it looks different in the Bahamas than it does in the US, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But tell us, what is the orange economy? Because I hadn't heard that before you spoke about it. So tell us.
So you're going to be excited about this. And orange economy is basically known as the creative economy. And for those years when I went to job interviews and I got the no's, I went and applied for different contracted work and I got the no's. It was all outside the orange economy. And the purpose of the orange economy is the production, the reproduction, the promotion, the distribution, or the marketing goods and services that increase cultural or artistic content. And so in layman terms, it's more about like architectural, audio, visual design, graphic designs, fashion, beauty, handcrafts, software. I was able to garner jobs as a fashion, beauty, and entertainment consultant. I basically took persons' ideas, their concepts, and made it into reality. And nobody cared that I was missing a leg. Nobody cared that I was an amputee. Nobody, because to be honest, the art world is an eccentric world. We all look different. Yes, we all dress different. We all handle things differently. So the orange economy is where I literally sustained and I grew during that time. And not only did I grow, the spaces that I entered changed when I left it. And so I always encourage persons, the orange economy is definitely where you can not only maybe learn more about yourself, but definitely ways to grow through your disability.
I love that. And I see Rebecca and Robin in the comments. Robin said advocacy is a must. Good morning, all. Good afternoon, Robin. Thank you so much for joining us today. And Rebecca said, I love your energy, Erin. I agree. That's the one thing that I really loved about you when I first met you. And it's something that stuck with me, and I keep remembering since the day that I met you and I sat next to you at the United Nations. It's your energy. So I agree, Rebecca. Thank you so much for that comment. This question, why is the orange economy the perfect opportunity for adults with disabilities?
Yes, it is an absolute perfect opportunity because not only can you work on set, you can work remotely, you can also, you can literally, what it did for me, let me speak from my aspect to give you a better idea. When I entered those spaces, there were times when you found, if it was on set, where you found, okay, it might not be accessible. We have to go up a pair of stairs, or we have to go up this hill, or we're on location somewhere else. And I had to advocate. I had to say, all right, this is what I'm able to do, and this is what I'm unable to do. But this is how I can still execute what I'm required despite or not being able to go up those stairs or not be able to be in this area. Here is the support. So what the Orange Economy gave me was a chance to adapt and customize, and also to even teach, also to help persons learn how to create accessible avenues and resources, how to consider during these initiatives and these programs what is necessary to make sure that all staff, all employees, all stakeholders involved are able to complete the task. Because in the Orange Economy, that's what it's about. Complete the task, stay on deadline, and we're good. So adults with disabilities, I definitely will encourage you, if you have an eye for fashion, if you love music, if you love to dance. I just was sharing the other day, we have Junk Canoe in the Bahamas. It's our cultural event every year, the day after Christmas, which we call Boxing Day. And one of our groups, one of their core leadership for their dance and choreography is a wheelchair user. And he is able to create and support and sustain the moves that the group, and it's an Orange Economy. It doesn't matter that he is not physically doing all of the moves himself, but what he is doing, he helped to build the foundation so that all can move, all can enjoy it.
Because that's what accessibility and access does. It makes, when you make something accessible for people with disabilities, you make it accessible for everyone. And that's the topic that has come up in these talks every week, time and time again. We realize that when you make a choice to make something accessible, you're making a choice to make room for everyone. So the fact that you're going around, Erin, and like teaching people how to make things accessible and provide access to different communities within the disability community, and just to make spaces accessible in so many different ways, because it's not just physical adaptations that they're doing. It looks, I'm sure, so many different ways. The fact that you're teaching this, it's helping the world so much, because there's not enough, I think, teaching going on, because a lot of pride goes into like, I shouldn't have to teach you how to be accessible. But I think sometimes that's all we need, is a teaching moment to tell someone, hey, how about we try it like this? Or how about for next time we try it like this? Like, for example, something I forgot to do in the beginning is describe myself for those who are low vision and also blind who might be listening to this. So I apologize if you are identify as low vision or blind that I did not describe myself. So I'm gonna do that now. I am a Black female with big curly hair right now that I'm wearing out. I'm wearing glasses, have fair skin, and I have a white wall behind me with a banner that says PunkinFutz in rainbow letters. And I'm wearing a dark gray long sleeve shirt. And that's something that I was taught how to do, a live description by my friend Sean Horn, who visited us on the show about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that's something she did. And she taught me how to do it. And I said I would do it every episode. Now, so far, so good. So.
Yes, and I will certainly join in, because, you know, worldwide, we're celebrating and we're recognizing Blindness Awareness Month. So that's another tool, that's another accessible tool. And so for me, my name is Erin Brown again, and I am a Black female. I have a short blonde, or I like to call platinum, you could tell I'm into hair. Short haircut. I'm also wearing glasses and a blue shirt, and my background is my home office, which has a pair of curtains, a lamp, and a desk with a mirror. I love that. That is so important to do that.
Yeah, and it's something that I didn't actually even, I'm feel bad to even say that I didn't think to do that, because I think that that's so important to make it accessible to everyone. This episode will be ASL interpreted, but for those who are blind, like they don't read ASL. So it's like, it's important to do it in so many different ways, even if that means describing yourself. And and I see comments. My mom is actually watching. Rebecca said, so true. My mom waved. Hi, Mom. Janae Elliott Clark said, good day to all. Good job speaking out for disability, Erin. I agree, Janae.
Awesome.
And then the next question is, how is the COVID-19 pandemic changing the conversation around disabilities? Such a good one. You go ahead, Erin.
Well, this conversation is such, like, we can go on for hours with this question alone. But I want to say to you, I like that we have the conversation, especially when you said you feel guilty sometimes that you didn't think about that. That's the beauty about disability. That's the beauty about it. It's about adapting. And we have to remove that guilt and that negative connotation that because I didn't know, I'm a bad person. That's not that. We're bridging the gap and making sure that persons who need to know more, what they say, when you know better, you do better. So we're giving you the tools. And so during COVID, though, COVID-19, this pandemic, this global pandemic, has made sure that access is a priority for all. And we hear a lot about access, remote working, flex work, all of these things. These are things that our community with disabilities have been begging for.
Yes, it should have been happening. I can't agree more. Like, it's crazy.
And they told us, it was too expensive. It requires too much. But the whole world is pivoting in real time, and it's exciting. And I want to make sure, remind everybody that remote working is an accessible tool.
Yes.
It is not a replacement for access at the workplace. It is a tool that businesses, companies, organizations can use to make sure that you hit your mark, you fulfill your commitments, you provide inclusion and opportunities, but it's definitely not the only way to provide accessibility during this time. Yes. COVID-19 is the equalizer. I said everybody needs to understand that. And so we need to create sustainable, virtual, flexible, digital access is a must. Yes. And so COVID-19 is the gift. I mean, I know a person's going to be like, what? But for our community, it literally proved in real time how possible access has been available to us.
And I see this question on the screen. I love when you know better, you do better. How can we increase safe conversations and build awareness and do better? I think the first thing is being willing, like how Erin is, being willing to have these conversations and being willing to say, like, hello, we've been asking for this all this time, and now it's happening, so let's embrace it. A lot of people are annoyed because, it's happening now and we've been asking for it, but it's happening. Embrace it.
We need to just be honest. We need to just be honest with ourselves that, okay, we didn't get there, fine, but we need to get there now. We need to bridge the gap. It's about bridging. It's about making sure that we use the time that we have now. We use the resources, the creative minds, the innovative minds, which includes people with disabilities. We have a wealth of knowledge that is just there because they have no access to share it with you. They have no inclusion, no opportunities to be at the table. And so we have to.
Now we do. Yeah, now we do. And we need to embrace these opportunities. And I see this question: what do you see as the greatest opportunity to change the future given where we are right now?
I feel the greatest opportunity is the fact that now, as a collective, we can take the time to ensure that non-disabled persons, disability allies, institutions, policies, organizations, school education, virtual learning, all of these spaces take the time to now train persons without disabilities, persons with disabilities, so that when they are creating, when they are establishing, when they are enhancing spaces, whether it's virtual learning through education, whether it's the medical field when persons are coming in for treatment, what does that look like to be accessible? Disability inclusion is the opportunity to ensure that our future is accessible, our future is inclusive, and it is innovative and sustainable. And so our greatest opportunity is ensuring that everything that we have to give to the world and more is accessible to all. Because I'm going to say it again, and I love it. Access and inclusion is a human right.
I love that. And I agree with that wholeheartedly as well, Erin. I think that it's a choice that everyone can make, from companies to organizations to spaces. I mean, whatever it is, I believe that we can all be a little bit more accessible and inclusive for each other, even within the disability community. And that's not something that we talk about enough. Like, that's a whole different conversation.
Yes.
So I'll leave that there. I'll let you guys ponder on that in the comments.
Yes.
Do me a favor, let's ponder on that in the comments, that it needs to happen within the disability community as well. But moving right along, the next question is, how is the process different in the Bahamas than the US?
Well, it is absolutely different. And of course, it should be, because we have different cultural aspects. And for us in the Bahamas, our Disability Act was enacted in 2014. The United States had the ADA for 30 years now. They're celebrating 30 years this year. And so for us, we're still very new. And so a lot of the infrastructure, whereas identifying as a person with a disability, we don't really have that structure fully engaged as yet. Meaning that if you're born with a disability, there are not necessarily programs designed, like funding, or you're able to receive financial assistance right away or automatically. It's a process where you have to go and apply at our Disability Affairs, our Ministry of Social Service and Urban Development. We're still trying to figure out a pathway, an accessible and inclusive pathway here. We have absolutely made it very intentful that we're going to do this, that our populace with disabilities are important. We also recognize that data collection, we're still working on data collection. And so for here, disability inclusion or any resources or access or services in the Bahamas at this time and in the Caribbean, we are working very diligently to figure out, what does that mean? What does that feel like? How can we change our policies? Because the process—
And that's why people like you are important, Erin. I just have to say that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is why you are so important to not only your community, but all of us, because I know that it does look different there than the US. And I'm sorry, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, but no, what you said is absolutely correct. And I acquired a disability 16 years ago. And I realized that during that time, even living as a non-disabled person, I worked in civic society. I was very civically involved. So for me now to recognize that there was not really any representation for me to look up to. I didn't have anything that I can hold on to say that, okay, I'm now living with a disability. What does that look like? Does that mean all of my goals and my future is gone because I have a disability? And people would like for you to believe that, but that's an absolute lie. And so I reached out to international networks, communities, allies that gave me a space to grow, that guided me, that ensured that I know that my voice is of value, that advocacy, my self-advocacy is important because we must include our voices. And so here in the Bahamas, we're still creating more and making sure that representation is key, because we're not seeing persons like me, professionals with disabilities. They do exist, but we haven't really grasped onto self-identifying because we still have a negative connotation to disability. When you do that, what does that mean? Will I be able to still work? Well, I won't be able to still work. Will I be able to still continue school? You know, will I lose my financial resources? All of these are real questions. And so in the Bahamas and in the Caribbean, we are absolutely working towards more, as the ADA, the Americans Disability Act, was able to provide for its United States citizens. And we know that the ADA have challenges too. Nothing is perfect and we have to adapt, but the key is for us to be present, for us to participate, and for us to be intentful in making sure that we get the reform done.
Yes, I love that. And actually, it's already, I can't believe it's 12:30. It's like I'm shaking my head. I can't believe, like, we went live at 12 and it's already 12:30. I want to get to this question because I'm interested in your perspective on this as from one Black woman to another. I want to know, like, what your take on this is. How have you balanced the intersectionality of being a Black woman with a disability and also a mom? So all of these pieces are a part of your identity. So how do you balance that?
Yes, well, disability is a part of our identity, and we will all experience a disability in life. And so we definitely have to normalize disability. And just as we said, Black woman, our race, our gender, our sexual orientation, disability is also one of them. And disability intersecting with life within itself, for me, me balancing it is a moment by moment thing. And a lot of us, we hear about the Black movement and Black power and Black this and Black that, and those are important as a civil rights movement. Disability intersects with civil rights movement as well, and we're still learning what that means. So when you say a Black woman with a disability, it's like, okay, where do I put her? How do I get resources to her? How do I figure out what is needed?
Yes.
And everything is needed. And I'm still learning how to balance. And I balance with the fact that I'm going to fail sometimes. I'm going to make mistakes, but those are my personal strengths, in my opinion, that I learned from my mistakes, that I recognize that is a part of the process. And to be okay with that, and to be okay with knowing that people in my community still need to know that they are of value, still need to understand that through your disability, you are strong and you are powerful. And being Black during this time, and in general, I can't even say during this time, but in general, is definitely one not for the lighthearted. We all have experiences that we're going to experience and live through. But at the same time, I want to encourage you to take those experiences and speak up and figure out exactly how you want to impact the space that you're in, because that's where it starts. Balance starts with where you're at right now and how you want to impact the space around you and change the space around you. But being a mom, boy, it's a roller coaster ride.
And that's a great segue into the next question. How do you balance the need to fight for diversity and inclusion on top of also advocating for your children? Like, I would imagine that would be hard.
I don't even know if it's a balance anymore. I don't even know if it's a balance. It's just, it's on my to-do list. I check that off every day. I check that off, that how can I keep it where I'm growing and I'm not getting discouraged from it. I'm not being just downtrodden about it, because it is a lot and it can be very much overwhelming. Being a mom is definitely on the top of my list because I'm impacting my children's future. I have a son, a non-disabled son, and I have a daughter who we're still trying to identify what all resources that she will need for the rest of her life. And so every action that I make, every move that I make, it's about ensuring that we're able to give a future for our youth, our children, for our people with disabilities, our community with disabilities. So the balance is ongoing.
I love that. And I see what Robin said. She said, what a wonderful message. Determine what we want to do and commit to that. Each individual step can only help. I love that. I thought your sound was out, Erin, but I think you muted yourself. I think I can hear you now.
Yes. Sorry, it had muted for a second.
No worries. It's fine. And I think the next question would be, were we finished with this question? Your balance to fight for diversity and also on top of being a mom. How do your children react to when they see like the things that you've done? Like, I think that's a big part of this question also. Like, I'm curious to know, what do your children think?
Well, my son, he's 17 now, and I've been living with limb difference for the past 16 years. So he has grown up with me as an amputee. And it was very interesting to watch him, because we did everything as if I was just a regular mom, because I am a regular mom. I volunteered at his school. I went to all of his games. I was the loudest mom, yelling at the basketball and baseball games. And I always wanted to know, and I asked him sometimes, I said, Erin, how does it feel? Because it's real when you show up to their school and you're the mom missing the leg. Like, oh my gosh, what happened to your mom's leg? You hear that a lot. And I worried a lot of times that maybe I'm a disadvantage, or it's too much for him. But I learned very quickly that he was like, Mom, you're my mom. Like, you're the greatest thing ever. There's no way that you living without a leg even matters. And to this day, he is such my motivation, especially during COVID-19, because a lot of times I'm tired, a lot of times I'm ready to give up, but I am also just determined that my present is their future.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you so much for saying that and like opening up a little bit for your personal life, because I know sometimes it might be like off limits to some people, which we respect that. Like, I think that's okay, but to see a little bit of it and to hear a little bit, I think that's great. How can people connect with you to learn more about what you're doing? I know you're really active on social and like networking and everything. So how can people contact you?
Well, yes, I like I said, representation matters. And for me, I realized that a space needs to be a safe, accessible space needs to be provided for people with disabilities, especially living in the Bahamas. And so I am on social media, Erin Brown Connects. You can find me on Instagram and social media. At the University of the Bahamas, we do have a Disabilities and Compliance page. So you can also go to the University of the Bahamas, Disabilities and Compliance. We have a website, ebconnects.business.site. You can email, that is erinbrownconnects@gmail.com if you want to email directly. And remember, it has one N, CONECTS. And my favorite phrase is one leg, one N. If you would like to reach me at the University of the Bahamas, my email address is my name, Erin.Brown at ub.edu.bs. So there's so many different ways. We try to make it so accessible. Just reach out or inbox and we'll be there to answer.
I love that. Janae Elliott Clark just said, being a disabled mother, what advice would you give some kids who feel ashamed because some kids don't know how to deal with it? That's a great question.
Yes, that is a great question. And I honestly feel, Janae, that it starts with us as the parents. We have to recognize that we are still whole, that we are still wonderful parents, and we don't hear that enough. You are wonderful. You as a parent with a disability, you show up every day. You ensure that you have what is needed and your children have what is needed. You're fighting barriers and gaps and challenges every day, and your kids are seeing that. And so I want you to come from that space when you speak to your children, when you interact with your children. You make sure they're a part of the journey. Don't hide anything away from them. I cried in front of my son. And I said to him, I'm sad because of this. I explained myself, but it was never from a space of, I don't know why, I wish I wasn't, because I am. I am a person living with disability. I am your mom. I am your parent. I am here to make you the best you, to help you get to where you need to get. At the same time, I have to do for myself the same. I have to be the best that I am. And I have to work on me, and I have to heal, and I have to be an encouragement, not only to myself, but especially our kids. So
I love that answer so much, Erin. Like, I admire everything that you've been able to do. And I just hope that, like, one day if I become a parent, I realize that it's important to use my voice not only for my disability, but for my children as well. I think you do an amazing job at that. And I see Lisa just brought up the information for an event that you're doing. Is it this week or next week?
It is this Saturday. We are celebrating National Youth Month here in the Bahamas under the theme, I Am Resilient. Now tell me that is in the theme for the whole year.
Right.
2020 has been, woo, child, it has been a moment. And so this Saturday, I will be speaking about disability inclusion for youth with disabilities, because we want to make sure, encourage them to include your voice. Youth with disabilities, voices are important. They are needed, and we must engage. We must help them to lift their voices in the spaces that they are in. And so this Saturday, you can register. It's a Zoom portal, so you'd be able to register and get the Zoom link. And at 7:30 this Saturday, you'd be able to join me, Erin Brown, and it's a global event. So definitely youth in the US, youth wherever you are in the world. It's Eastern Standard Time, 7:30. So go and Google to see what time that is wherever you're at, because it may be the morning, the afternoon, or the night. But we encourage and we welcome youth all around the world with disabilities to join us on Saturday. The Division of Youth is about empowering youth at the Ministry Youth, Sports and Culture in the Bahamas. And so please join us, register, and you'll have me Saturday.
Thank you so much, Erin, for sharing the event that you're doing, and also all of your insight with disability and diversity and inclusion and all the work that you're doing worldwide, because obviously you are from the Bahamas, but you also do work, I think, worldwide. And
yes,
you've done a really amazing job. And yes, follow Erin on Instagram and Facebook. It's right there on the screen. And also make sure to join us this Friday. We're going to have Recess with PunkinFutz, which is also a weekly program for children and parents. And we are going to do actually a acting workshop / little skit thing with epic players. So if you caught last week's Wednesday episode, they joined us on Wednesday, and they'll be back. this week on Friday for a recess episode. So make sure to join us right here at facebook.com/PunkinFutz. Thank you so much, Erin, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.